Listen up.
Well then,
Strap in and get ready.
I'm... Hey there, everybody. Brandon Jones here with my buddy Brad Ellis.
Yo.
My Extinction survivor. You know,
That's
when you're
right.
when you're at a preview event and they ask you, "Are you too good at first-person shooters?" And we were both very modest, like, "Yeah, I guess."
Dude, every time that always makes me uncomfortable. Yeah, I'm fucking godlike at this game.
I think we did a pretty good job playing Second Extinction.
Yeah.
It's actually been a couple days since our preview event, but we not only were able to log online and play together, we also played with a developer. We had a 3-person team going in, and in case any of you are just vaguely recollecting this is a game where you kill dinos, man.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. That is what you are there to do. Very specifically, you were there to drop in. This is on planet Earth. Planet Earth has been ravaged by mutant dinosaurs. And like ODST, you drop in, you do your mission, and then you get the heck out of there. And so we got to jump in and do a couple things. Ran into a couple technical issues. One of them actually booted you, Brad, from one of the missions that we were on, and so we had to jump back in the game. And then, unfortunately, a mission we could not complete because we had to like attach C4 to something, and none of us had any C4 left in the inventory, and there was one space left to go. And so there were still, this is coming to early access, and there were still, a couple kinks to iron out. We had a pretty decent time. They updated our levels to 15, so we were able to go in and do some upgrading. And the upgrade system was unique because there were slots you had to unlock, and then there were tokens that you put in those slots. So there weren't enough tokens to fill out the entire grid. So you basically, as you level up, you just unlock more spaces to put tokens in, and then you decide how you want to modify your skill tree. And it's not so much about getting more strength or points or damage or anything. It's just modifying your character the way you want to play. So
they want people to be able to hop in.
So it sounds like if you're playing with friends, you'll get like a little more customization, but your friends won't be dragging behind. So just before we get into specifics of what we did in our preview event, how did it feel? Were you godlike at this game? Did you feel in control?
I mean, yeah, I felt fine. It played smoothly. I was never like, oh man, this particular aspect of playing sucks. They need to work on this. It functioned properly.
Yeah.
Oh, but dude, we gotta talk about like the classes, man, that we played as.
Oh,
we didn't talk about that.
Oh, there are 4 available characters. The one we didn't play as is Ortega.
Right.
So you went straight for Rosie.
Rose,
what was it about Rosie that
heavy,
that
dude? She had like
you?
the Gatling gun. So I'm talking about like the heavy from Team Fortress 2, man. I'm all about it.
And she was like in love with that gun. So she would get like, sad. She's like, oh, it ran out of ammo.
Yeah.
I went straight to Jurgen, who was the sniper rifle kind of like...
that guy was cool.
He was like the Outback hunter. He had like the adventure hat on and the cool mustache. And then our 3rd dev rep played Amir, which I think was a really good actual character for a developer to play for assistance because that had situational awareness, orbital surveillance, and a precision strike. So he had like an airstrike that he would bring in, but he also just had a ping that could either discover things, show us what's going on in the environment, and potentially reveal enemies if they're stealthed.
That was nice, yeah.
So that was nice to have him, have that as he was running through and explaining stuff. And then every character has a passive ability, a tactical ability, and a special ability. Yours, you had field repairs, static barricade, which was pretty sweet, actually.
Yeah, that was sick.
You were getting really cozy with that.
Yeah, put up like electric fences. Yeah.
So that was fun. Remember, there was one part where we were on a bridge, and you separated that, so they had a very, very tight squeeze to try to get at us. Kind of gave me like tower defense vibes of just guiding them. Like, okay, we got a big rush of these things coming at us, and it was safe to say we were being rushed by dinosaurs constantly throughout.
Yeah, it reminded me of like Left 4 Dead or something, Jones, where you feel like they can kind of just jump out at any type of moment. I don't know how it's scripted necessarily, but that's the vibe I was getting.
The big difference between this and Left 4 Dead's like very corridor based, lots of staircases. This is like Red Faction. Like you are just out
big
on
zone,
you're just out on not a ton of detail to like big complexes we were going through, just lots of caves and hills and canyons and big wide roads. And then my boy Jurgen I looked back at this first ability and I was like, yeah, I did none of that. One was called low profile, which means if I go prone and stay there for a little bit, then I'll basically become invisible. That it's like if we know there's an objective coming up and I can find, a good position, we were just running and gunning so fast to try to get through as much of the content as we could in the time we had. So didn't do low profile that much. Had a satchel charge. It was a little tricky to use where I would throw out C4 and then I had to physically shoot it and then it would go off. I did manage to use it a couple times, but it took me a little bit. I would throw it and expect it to go off and be like, what am I missing here? Oh, I actually have to shoot it. I had mask scent, which again, we were moving so fast I didn't really get a chance to use. But if we want to like stealth through an area, or if some dudes are creeping up on us and I don't want us to be seen, I can like hide us from those bad guys. But seemed like running around and killing dinos was kind of the order of the day. The way this works is you drop in, you get the mission done, and then you get out. There are objectives that pop up randomly. Some of those we actually went past because he's like, it's going to take too long, and we only have about 10 minutes or left. A couple that we did, we brought in a scanning device a couple times, where you would have to call things in, and then you would use that to scan the environment, which would then help you with mission objectives. And then there was one kind of remind me of Metal Gear Peace Walker, where we would attach stuff to a crate, and then the crate would go flying out.
Oh yeah, I was thinking like MGS5 a lot too. Yeah,
and we didn't actually get to use it too much. Or use it at all, really, but you can like collect dinos that way.
Yeah, so I think you were saying something about dinos.
So you could like research dinos and then like tag them, and then they would like go back up to the base. And bringing things in ourselves was a big deal. So you could pick what type of grenade you want to bring in. You could pick I don't remember what they say, your payload, I think, and then like a support ability. And so I had, a heal that I could do for everybody. But the payloads were a big deal because one of mine was just ammo. I think that was the payload that I brought in.
Yeah,
and,
super useful.
I think he had grenades, and I think maybe you had health. It was something where like you have to pick a spot, you bring it in, and then you're not just gonna find, maybe every now and then for like mission objectives they'll reward you with ammo, or like we'll find a base that has ammo, but it does not drop off dinos. So like a lot of times you have to physically manually bring that stuff in. Did that seem like a nuisance at all? Or I know you reminded me very aggressively at one point. You're like, Jones, ammo.
I think it's cool. It's fast, and I think there's something cool about prepping for a situation. Being like, okay, something's gonna go. Usually, like when we're moving through the world, there's definitely moments where the dinosaurs kind of swarm you, but when you get to like an objective, it's very clear, like, something's about to go down.
And one of the last objectives we did was in a cave. This is the mission that we could not complete.
Yeah.
But you cannot bring any drops into a cave, obviously, because you're indoors. And so I kind of like that vibe of like turning on the flashlights and like, all right, like aliens, like here we go. Yeah. And that's where these dinos come from, is from inside of these caves. And so you just got that, getting into the
they're like mutant dinos. They're not
into the hive.
Not all just normal dinos.
And to specifically speaking of the mutated nature of these dinos, so when we dropped it on the map, we actually picked a location. I think there are seven regions on the tactical map. Each one has a different threat level from 1 to 3. And so there's kind of a tug of war going on the map, and that affects everybody that's playing. It doesn't affect you in real time, so if you go down into the world, you won't see other players running around. But depending on what you do, so if you go in and do a mission in an area, the people that queue up, after you, or like 10 minutes, say, after that you logged on, what the work that you did will be reflected on the map. And so if people just kind of let these areas go to ruin, they'll be more dangerous. There'll be tougher dinos in the area. And I'm curious to see how this plays over the long haul. He said that if you actually do a really good job and you push these things back constantly and all of the areas are clear, the dinos like get pissed and they will explode in one area. And he had that, Brad, DC'd at one point, and so we actually had to do this at the, end of our play session. But there was a mutant T-Rex that was wandering around that we had to track down, and that we eventually fought and killed.
Yeah, we took
but
it
this
down.
thing only existed because this like you said, like a volcano. This one area kind of burst forth with all of these dangerous dinos, and apparently, if you don't deal with it right away, that can spread into other zones.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. I imagine that's a difficult line, a balancing issue, because on one hand, you want it to have an impact. You want people to care about it, and log in, in the evening and just be like, what happened today? Okay, well, I'm going to go into this area and clear it up. But at the same time, you don't want it to be too tough, where like every time you log in, it's like, man, did we got taken over again?
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see, if they have to tweak that stuff moving forward. Yeah, raptors all over us, constant raptors.
Yeah, what did you think of the enemy variety?
I dug it. He was definitely pointing stuff out. As a sniper, again, one thing that I could do was one of the enemy types is called Watchers. That he told us what they did. I didn't really see that reflected like in real time.
It was
even
like
going back and
the
looking
like
at
the
footage.
alpha of the pack almost. It seemed like this raptor. It was like the Watcher Raptor, and you take it out and it would weaken everything else, something like that.
Those were actually called alphas. The Watchers will shout, like they'll like
Oh,
they'll be
that's
like, hey,
right.
hey, and they'll call
Cool,
other
cool.
people in, and so you can see a little icon on the even if they yell and then move, you can see like where they were when they made that call, so you can track them down. So I sniped a couple of those guys from a distance, but it's good to spot them. Just kind of like Left 4 Dead's a great example because it's even if it doesn't play that way specifically or the environment's not that way, it reminds me of The Witch. It's just like you can sneak past them or not upset them.
Yeah.
Just these things that will be hassles that you'll have to deal with. Then there were also flatbacks, which the first one we met was in a cave, and that has like a very hard shell that you have to like pop up a grenade
Flip
or I
them
would drop
over,
C4 or something and then hit the weak spot underneath. And then some of the dinosaurs had acid spitting abilities that I don't know if I necessarily saw specifically happen. He mentioned it. I don't know if we could tell like the zone that we were going into if we were facing off against those.
Right. Yeah, I can't remember.
But that was, he did say that he specifically used the word fodder. He said raptors are just kind of the dime a dozen. Like these things will just pop up all the time. Tried to catch the dino the first time, had to reload, went and did a mission, passed a bunch of different tiny objectives that we did along the way, but then tried to do the cave thing. And then when that didn't work out, we hunted that dino, that T-Rex, and took him down. And I think my favorite thing about this game, Brad, is just kind of like the pop in, pop out nature of it. The weather changes, so like he actually was happy when we reloaded the game and went back in on another mission. He was like, "Oh, good, it's sunny." He's like, "Oh, you can see the mountains in the background," and so it's neat to think of this world as like an evolving, living thing. Just seeing dinos in the distance that like you're not necessarily going to engage in,
right?
But there are plenty of targets to run around and shoot. So I could just imagine, if you have a long time, then you would just kind of goof off on your mission before you get it done and do all of the side quests.
Yeah, you could do a lot.
But if you're like, I just want it, I got 30 minutes, let's go. You can just land, do the thing right away, and then jump out. But just like Left 4 Dead, it's also fun to just run around and kill dinos.
It's fun, like blowing dinos away with your pals.
I liked the charge. Was there anything? Would you play as Rosie going back into this? Do you think that was
I
a
would
really
just
good class?
experiment. I think I picked her because she seemed like an easier character to grasp right off the bat. And I was like, okay, heavy. I kind of know what's going on. I didn't really want to hop into like a more like specialty class or something like that, like stealth and all that crazy stuff. Not yet, but I would experiment with all that down the line for sure.
Did you definitely get a sense like of power? Because these things got up real close.
Yeah, dude.
And I had the sniper rifle. I was like, whoa!
Jones, one of those flatbacks or whatever, we flipped over and I just sat there like point blank, just mowing it down. And I was like, all right, this is good. This is what I'm talking about.
And yeah, you can, again, we leveled up. I don't know if you level up those specific characters or if that's just your profile that levels up.
Yeah,
you get those points with it, and they, again, bumped us up to 15. I enjoyed it. I think it's a game, despite the technical issues, which happens, in a game in this state. I think this is a game that really previews well because we were able to just hop right in. There wasn't like a huge, cutscene we needed to watch that explained exposition, and we were free to kind of do bonus stuff as we went along. It didn't seem like there was any real like wrong way to play this game. You just want to like get. He also mentioned like little dino, intestines and stuff that you can sell. You just get down there, get XP, get supplies, try not to die, and then get out of there. With lots of shooters, I don't know if this is something that I'll specifically make like a ton of time for, but I'm curious. I think it would make a Dynamite group stream.
Yeah, definitely. It scratched a little of my Turok itch.
Ooh.
I was just like, man, I haven't hunted a dino in a long time. I mean, it's different than Turok, but still feels good to blow dinosaurs like face off or something. You don't get to do that very often.
And I imagine if you're used to the environment, you're used to, I could definitely see you getting better at those fences as time went on. You kind of begin to predict what type of, how these things will attack and what, enemy types to take out first. I can imagine it can feel pretty good dropping in and just being like, all right, I'm going to seek danger. I'm going to go to the hardest parts of this game, because I know I can survive.
Yeah, definitely.
And how about just synergy in general? Like, did you feel, like I mentioned, that was a good, Amir was a good class for, or a good character for, you know, the dev to pick, because he was constantly pinging and being like, here's where these things are, and telling us
I think
about
there's
stuff.
good synergy in that stuff, especially if you all know what you're doing. I think it could definitely help knowing your role in there.
We had specific details I wanted to get through, representative of the gameplay, which was fun because you recorded and I recorded, so we got both of our footage. But at the same time, we dropped on a planet, killed some dinos, and then got out of there. You know, like it has kind of a pleasant simplicity to it.
Yeah, definitely.
That there's not much more to say, but you know, as I mentioned before, it definitely previews well.
Yeah,
and it's definitely a game you can pick up and understand very quickly.
Dude, it's all going to come down to the dinos in the end for me in this game, and see like what they throw at us to keep it exciting. Like, fighting the raptors is fun, but even just fighting the raptors constantly after a while, I'm like, okay, let's get a little more something in here. Like the flatbacks came in a little more. I'm curious. I'm sure they'll add more stuff down the line, but I want to see like a huge fucked up dinosaur or something like that out there. Like the T-Rex was awesome. I was glad we got to fight it. I love seeing more stuff like that.
Yeah. I really enjoyed, I think one of my favorite moments was when we had completed the objectives in the cave. There was nothing else to do, but the dinos were still coming. So I was like, okay, we did the thing, we're done. We need to get out of here. And so there's this, you know, like, again, this alien Starship
escape.
Troopers vibe of like, get out, you know, running out of the cave.
Blow it!
Yeah, throwing C4 behind me and you know, blowing it up. And so it'd be neat, if there were modes that's like, you can't clear all of these, you know, dinos. You just have to survive or go in and get this object or do this thing and then get out of there. I like the idea of just this like scorched earth. You know, it's just there's no way to save this planet. It's just inhospitable. We all live in space, and we, you know, the ones among us that are tough. I remember kind of the vibes with what was the 4v1 big monster, you know, but that kind of vibe where once you hit the ground, it was clear like, okay, we're not on home turf. This is we just need to finish our objective and then get out of there. Hopefully this game has a little more success at launch than Evolve did. But I had a lot of fun. Like I was saying,
had fun too.
If you got that itch to kill dinos, as we know Michael Huber definitely has, then this will scratch that. And stay tuned for potentially more coverage of it from Easy Allies. Thank you, Brad.
Yeah. Whoa, on the ship.
I'm involved.
Made it.
Okay, I mean...
Not only did you rescue and retrieve the researcher, you also managed to find the operation and prove value in our fight against the dinosaurs.
I expected no less from the EXU, but excellent work nonetheless.